Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Feeling and Healing podcast. I am Danielle Z, your host, MFT in the making, motivator, and mental health maven. And today I am so happy to welcome Keith Kanenberg. He is an executive leadership coach. So, welcome, Keith. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. So we're going to open up with kind of, Keith's an expert in leadership. He works with a lot of executives. He's in the corporate world. And I know the big kind of fear right now, or the big topic is AI and how that's going to impact the workforce. So I would love to know your kind of insight, Keith, of what do you think the biggest gap is right now with the AI kind of era we're in and leadership, especially in business and corporate America?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I've thought a lot about this lately, and I think what we're not talking about is the leadership aspect of AI. Um, I think we're so infatuated by what it can do for us. We're all out there playing around on Chat GPT, and we're amazed at how it can work with our PowerPoints, and it can help us with writing emails, and it can help us with, our Excel spreadsheets, and we're all impressed, and we're doing that. And then there's a bunch of conversation about how AI is going to take over the world, and we're all going to lose our jobs, and all of that, and that freaky stuff. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I just think I think AI is going to make things different. I still think we'll be able to, retain the ability to work and stuff like that. But I think the biggest gap, like you said, is not so much what we're talking about as much as it is what we're not talking about.
Mm.
And what we're not talking about is how it's going to impact leadership.
Mm.
And you and I were actually talking the other day about this a little bit, and I really enjoyed our conversation, but we got off on that subject of, back during the Industrial Revolution, people were kind of looking at production as being the slow bottleneck of industry. It took forever to produce, right? So you had all these executives in these big boardrooms and, walnut paneled walls and big doors and all of that stuff in huge boardrooms. And they would make decisions what appeared to be lightning fast, and then they would be frustrated because they'd send it on down the production line. It would take production forever to do and then enact all of their dreams. Um, what AI's done for us is AI has sped up the production element of it. So now all of a sudden, what used to take a worker weeks and months and years to produce, he or she is now doing it in 15 minutes or 2 hours. And now all of a sudden, production is not the slowest moving thing in industry. The slowest moving thing in industry is decision making.
Mm.
And now what used to be considered fast and, very streamlined is now considered the albatross around everybody's neck. So people are creating, generating stuff, and they're creative and they're able to produce amazing stuff and they're excited about it. And then they run it up the flagpole and it sits there forever because it takes forever for leadership management to make a decision because it's so encumbered by the hierarchy and the bureaucracy of it,
Mhm.
the politics of it all. So employees are now sitting around twiddling their thumbs, waiting for a decision. And I think employers are looking at them and going, "What are we paying you for? You're not doing anything." And they're like, "Well, I'd do a whole lot more if you'd give me some decisions, send some decisions on down the line, but I'm just waiting for a know to do anything else." And the employee's not going to sit around and tell you that they're not doing anything.
No, no, yeah,
They're not doing anything,
yeah.
and can you blame them for that?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, what's your thoughts on that? What do you think about that?
No, I mean, you can't, I think that you highlight a great point that I always say that, but that it's that it's part of the process. So yes, one part of the process is moving forward, but then there's still a part of the process that's not working together symbiotically, the
Yeah.
decision making. And yeah, that will impact, and I think the impact of that, I mean, I just know in our culture, in American culture, like we're very career oriented. It's very a big part of our identity. We're very purposeful. So I can only imagine kind of the impact on mental health or your identity if you're doing all this work and or maybe you're doing less work, and then AI is helping you, but then you're waiting on a decision from somebody whether your work is good or not or whatever. That's a lot of idle time, in my
Yeah.
opinion, for to ruminate, to think about. And also too, I mean, I get it, like, of course, we're all about efficiency. I'm about, getting things done quickly, but I think we haven't really thought of the impact of like work is good for ourselves. Like it's good to have a purpose. It's good to get up and feel like you're part of something. And I don't want to lose that as humanity?
Yeah. Yeah. I think in that gap between leadership, decision latency, and the production line, content creation or whatever, however we want to reference that,
Yeah.
in that gap is innovation.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
And so innovation sets in there. So this person is sitting here idle waiting for this decision latency to do something. So what are they going to fill their time with? They're going to only fill their time with innovative ideas. So
Mm.
they'll just start innovating on their own, and then they use AI to help them innovate, and then they come up with more ideas, and they're all excited about the ideas. Then they run the new idea up the flagpole and go,
Yep.
whoa, 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 wait a minute, wait a minute. So then the employee now starts thinking like, hey, I can do great things. So this whole innovation thing
Mm.
eventually will turn into entrepreneurship,
Which
which,
I'm all about. I support
yeah,
that movement. I mean, as an entrepreneur,
yeah,
I think entrepreneurship is one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
yeah.
It's not for everybody though. I will say that.
No, it's definitely not for everybody, but once they get in that entrepreneurial mindset, they're already they've got one foot out the door.
Mm.
So then the corporation is going to sit around there going, what's going on with our turnover rate?
Mm.
Right?
Yep.
Nobody wants,
And
and I hear it all
retention.
the
Yeah,
time. It's
yeah.
like nobody wants to work anymore. You know?
That's the common theme, especially with
Yeah.
this. Everybody's saying that the younger, like nobody wants to work, and I don't think if nobody wants to work, just the system is changing.
I think it's not that nobody wants to work, it's that nobody wants to work for you.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
yeah, that's a
think
valid
about it.
statement. Yeah.
There's people out there cranking out a bunch of work. They're so capable today with the advent of AI. They're so capable and they're so ready to run. And then they get ready to go. And then everybody in leadership is kind of putting the brakes on. Whoa, wait a minute, wait a minute. Don't get the cart ahead of the horses or the horse, that kind of thing. And I think it frustrates really intelligent people. So your
Mhm.
smarter people are going to step out the door, and really all you're going to be left with are people that are not capable because they'll move slow enough for you,
Mm. That's
right?
interesting.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
No, that does. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? And I think companies have to sit down and they need to talk with somebody who sees this. And the thing about this, Danielle, is nobody's talking about it.
Mm.
I mean, at
Yeah.
least not anybody that
Yeah,
I've
I think
seen.
that people are really just concerned about what AI can. Once again, I love your kind of systemic view of this. Like everybody's really talking about like, oh, is it going to take my job? Oh, is it going to replace human beings? But it's like not as the process, because there's systems and processes in businesses that I don't even think, as you said, we haven't even nobody's really talking about this.
No, nobody's talking about it at all. And then
Yeah.
there's another aspect inside of all this that nobody's, well, I think there's a few people talking about this one, but I think
Hmm.
nobody's talking about it to the extent that they need to. And it's this, it's that what used to cause us or put us in positions to make a lot of money, what we used to reward was
Yeah.
specialties,
Yeah.
people with specialties. So if I had a specialty,
Uh-huh.
then I was rewarded with a great paying job.
Yeah, good salary.
Yeah, the salary and all that. And then the generalists were generally the lower paid people. So
Mm.
we used to call them secretaries, and then that became sexist. So we started calling them
Assistants, executive assistants,
assistants or
or
admin
yeah,
assistants and all
admins,
of that
yeah.
stuff. And I mean, I don't care if you call them secretary or you call them admin assistant or whatever you call them. Ultimately, what you're calling them is underpaid,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, there I will say like they my father has an ex admin and they she is like his like like his like right well like, they share like a brain like and I'm like
Yeah,
that is worth its weight in gold to have somebody
it's
on your
worth its weight in gold.
that like knows your behaviors, knows what you would do, and I'm like, and she always, and the relationship is mutual. You know what I mean? Like she says, she's like, when my dad does eventually retire, she says to him like, I can't work for somebody else,
Yeah,
which is an honor to him as a leader and as a person in business.
they share a brain, and if you take care of those people, they can be very, very effective. More so today than at any other time in history, because with the advent of AI, now the generalists are going to be the highest paid people, and the
Mm,
specialists are going to find themselves unemployed. Let me explain just a
interesting.
second.
Okay.
Because the specialists are going to have a unique talent, and they're going to wake up one day and find out that AI can do their talent.
Yes,
I
that's true.
think the first one, and I hate to say this, if anybody's listening and they're in this field, my apologies to you for saying this. I don't want to offend anybody, but I think the first people that are going to fall off the planet as far as their specialty
Hmm.
is graphic designers. I mean, it's sad, but
I
graphic.
know. And honestly, Keith, that so as a former marketer, that breaks my heart because I think like creativity is something that is like part of the human experience and like
Mhm.
ingenuity. And I hate that because, and I know a lot of creatives and they kind of do agree. Actually, somebody you would probably find this interesting, somebody who, because I know you mentioned like the printing press before we got on the call.
Yeah.
He's a creative director, and he said he's like Danielle. He's like remember back in the day when like he's like when you made like with fonts like when print was really big. He's like then we went digital. It's like that's kind of what's happening kind of with creative right now. It's going from
Mhm.
that like print world where, you would be very meticulous with the font and the kerning, and now it's just like it's just it's the fonts are already uploaded, you pick one and you run with it.
Yeah.
There's no process around it.
Yeah, there's no thought around it. It's got the palette package and everything. It's thought through everything that you can possibly think through, and then it generates the stuff out. Now, here's the good thought about this. Graphic designers don't have to be unemployed. They just have to think differently,
Yeah.
right? So the beauty about graphic design or any field that is going to be kind of burn out by AI is that you have to think in a promotion mindset, right? Because if you've learned your PowerPoint, you've learned your Photoshop, you've learned your whatever the other thing is, the Adobe programs and all that stuff, and you've learned how to create Illustrator, all this stuff. You've learned how to create all that stuff. You have a value that future generations are not going to have.
Yes, that is
Okay.
true. That
So
is
that's
true.
extremely important to the graphic designer who's
Yes, like I
sitting
know
there
like the
thinking,
Creative Suite, like Adobe Creative Suite, like that.
yeah,
Like I mean, I don't know how to use I mean I know how to use like basic Photoshop, but not like InDesign and all the like, the ones that the really good designers use.
because it's the future is going to be about prompt writing.
Mm,
Right. So right now we are going to have a whole host, a whole army of graphic designers. Some of them are just going to bail. They're going to say
yeah.
AI is going to take over, right? Other
Yeah.
ones are going to wrap their brain around, I'm going to write prompts and I'm going to make
Mm,
AI do stuff that I used to do. It take me hours to do. I'm going to do it in seconds, right? But I know what I know how Illustrator works. I know how Photoshop works. I know how all this stuff works. I know the whole palette design. I know all that stuff. So now my artistic value can go into my writing the prompts. And now I make
Mm.
AI work for me
For
and
you, yeah,
me
exactly.
making instead of me working for AI. But here's the beauty of it for anybody who's feeling like they're going to get blown out of the water. There's a whole generation of graphic designers coming that are going to come in that are not going to learn how to run these programs the same way you knew how to run these programs. So their prompts are not going to be as good as your prompts. And so, what your opportunity is right now, when I say you, I'm talking to the graphic designer. What your opportunity is right now is to build yourself an entrepreneurial base,
Hmm.
build yourself a team, and then educate these people around you because before too long, like you can even see it now, you go out on LinkedIn or you go out on Facebook, you can see every graphic design thing that was generated on Chat GPT. You kind of go, that's Chat GPT, that's blah, blah, blah. The future is going to be you're going to use AI to generate stuff that doesn't look like it was generated by AI. And that's going to take somebody with an eye. That's going to take a creative.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you. I mean, you can probably tell. Like, I mean, I'm a former marketer. I'm not saying I have a, but I do have a keen eye, and I can tell, especially with video content, um, what's AI, what's not. And I'm not saying I'm an expert in design or anything, but I mean, yeah, that discernment is gonna be very valuable in the future.
Mhm. Yeah. So when you move, like I said, in that gap is going to be innovation, but it's also going to be, the generalist and the specialist thing.
Hmm.
So if you move into a generalist instead of a specialist, instead of saying I am a graphic designer, now all of a sudden you become marketing director, right? So now all of a sudden you're using Chat GPT or whatever AI you're using, and you're using it to kind of be a content creator, to be a producer, to be all of these graphic designer. There's so many different fields that you used to have to hire an army of people to do.
Oh yeah, now you can just use a tool.
Now you just use a tool, right? So there's going to be two groups of people. There's going to be the group of people that say, I'm a graphic designer. Oh, my job went away. And I'm picking on graphic designers because
No, no, it's all good. But you're
there's a
right. It is.
hundred
Yeah, no,
different
I
different
know you're
things.
not,
Yeah.
picking on them. I know
So
it's just an example. Yeah.
yeah, it's just an example of hundreds of potential
Yeah,
situations.
yeah, but it's a
Instead
very
of saying, I've lost my ability to be a graphic designer, AI took it away from me, you didn't self-promote yourself into an executive role. And you got to think of yourself as an executive, and then you've got to hire AI and you've got to manage AI to produce what you need to do. So now you're able to actually be ahead of a corporation. The potential is phenomenal if you just shift your way of thinking, right? But the problem is in corporations, they're not seeing their people being empowered to this level. And if they're
mm,
going to let all the intelligent people build their entrepreneurial mindset, and then they're going to put their foot out the door and they're going to go out and build their entrepreneurial mindset, they might find themselves, their corporation, in competition with this little low-level employee that's now dominating the market space.
mm,
And that can be a really bad thing. So, what corporations have to do is, I believe, they have to give away accountability and they have to give away authority to people.
yeah.
They have to allow people to innovate and they have to use AI to help them make their decisions quicker rather than sitting around in their stuffy boardrooms having 47 meetings to talk about the same junk that they talked about for the last 10 meetings. They have to really speed up their decision latency problem and empower the people at the lower level to become what they need to become. And that's going to take a different level of leadership coaching.
Mm.
And to
Yep.
me, that's what's going to make organizations stand out in the future.
Yes, absolutely. Because I love the when we were talking kind of earlier this week, kind of, and you can I would love you for you to explain it to the audience, kind of the metaphor when you use the term schizophrenic leadership.
Hmm.
And it just really made a lot of sense with how the businesses and corporate America has kind of set up our leadership, I guess, system or structure. So could you just talk a little bit about that? Because I thought that was brilliant. Because
Yeah,
when you explained it, it made so much sense of why we are in this. Because I found, I mean, I think I shared with you, I have had good and bad leaders in corporate America, but what pushed me out of corporate America was 100% bad leadership.
yeah.
100%. Like,
People don't quit jobs, they quit
they quit
leaders.
people. Yep,
Yeah. And
exactly.
and that's the hardest. And then what we do is we sit around and we think how, we've got this bad turnover. So what do we need to do? We need to retain people. So we think, I know what we'll do. We'll give them all a raise. Right. And yeah, people need money. And I'm not trying to put that down or anything, but I'm telling you, I don't care how many raises you get, it will always not be enough. Right.
Yes.
So you can keep on giving people raises, keep on giving people raises. You're not going to retain them by giving them raises. You give them raises because you respect them. You,
Yes.
you don't
Yeah.
give them raises to retain them. There's a
Yeah.
word for that. I think it's called slavery, right?
Yeah.
You
Right.
don't,
Yeah. I mean,
I
yes.
mean,
Yeah.
I own you, right? I pay you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sign your paycheck, so you do what I say. Nobody's going to work in that mindset with you.
No, no, no,
Right?
no.
So what you've got to do is you got to respect people, make sure you pay them well, but you also have to lead people in a way that they feel like they're part of the team. They have to they have to feel like they're part of the process. They have to take ownership in it. They have to be engaged, in all of these different things. And I think that's so important for people to realize that. Well, with that said, what happens is we defer. So, and this kind of gets to your point, you know, like say we don't have a leadership brand. My phrase is leadership branding. And I think that's what organizations don't have. And a leadership brand has to come from the very top. It's got to
Mm.
come from the C-suite.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is leaders are not hiring people to teach them how to lead. They're hiring people to teach their people how to lead.
Mm.
And there's your big problem. Like for years, I would go in and I did corporate training. So I would come in and I'd have a whole plethora of corporate training stuff on how to do leadership. I
Mm-hmm.
would come in and they'd bring me in and I'd teach their people, but the CEO, the CFO, the COO, none of those people ever came to the training.
Mm.
So I hate to tell you this, if you're a CEO listening to this, you need to hear this because this is really, really, really important. Every single instance that I taught for years, I've never had a class that somebody didn't walk up to me after the class and say, this is great stuff. I wish my boss would take this class.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And what that does is I get really defeated because I go, you know what? This company paid me a ton of money to come here
Mm-hmm.
and teach their people how bad they suck. Does that make sense? That sounds horrible to say that.
No, no, no. I mean,
But
no, it
that's
doesn't.
that's the takeaway, right? So what you have to do is you have to get with the C-suite and you have to pull out of them what they think is valuable in leadership. And then
Yeah.
I believe that you have to create a brand, like you from marketing, you understand
Mm-hmm.
this.
I
You have to
do.
create a brand that is your company's brand. So if I go to a different company, that other company is going to have a different leadership brand depending on how they do it. Some companies are going to be more authoritative. Some people are going to be more transformative. Some people are going to be more transactional. Just depends on your situation, how you function. You have to be very situationally driven. But companies that don't do that, what they do is they think, okay, we got a turnover problem. We've got problems. These people aren't doing what they're supposed to do. We need to hire somebody to come in here and be a leader. So we go out and we hire somebody from X company and we hire somebody else from Y company. And we hope they're going to bring their leadership skill from their other company, and
Yes.
then they're
And
going to change our company. But we haven't had any talk with them about what our view is, what our brand is. So we're always trusting this savior to come in and save our company by default. And
yep.
then, so you hire all these different people, and then you might promote people up. Well, how's that person that you're promoting up into leadership going to lead if you don't teach them how you want them to lead? So if your organization has been dysfunctional and it's had dysfunctional leadership, and you promote people up that have only been led by dysfunctional leaders, what's the best you can expect out of them?
Yeah, exactly.
Dysfunctionality, right?
Exactly.
So now your employee comes in, and this comes to your point. Your employee comes in and they're going to be led for a while, and then they move over to another leader, and then they get led a totally different way. And then some other leader comes in and tells them and treats a totally different way. And then next thing you know, it just feels like schizophrenic leadership.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like, which way do we go? Oh my gosh, they tell me one thing, then they tell me this thing,
Yep.
then they tell me that thing. And, if you've ever been in a relationship or knew somebody that was schizophrenic, that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
Absolutely. It's a little confusing.
yeah, you want out of there fast, don't you?
Yeah, no, it's a little confusing. Yeah, for
But these
sure.
organizations are just putting up with schizophrenic leadership because they think that leadership branding is going to happen by default.
Yes.
Never
Yeah,
happens by default. But if they bring somebody in that sits down with them and knows how to pull a brand out of them and then package that brand and then bring that brand to the people, then all of a sudden, and then kind of, recertify and all that stuff and make sure that that brand stays there. That's the difference between companies that are going to exist in the future and the companies that aren't.
mm,
And if you
yeah,
pull that AI thing into it at the same time, you make your organization bulletproof. But if you don't
yeah.
deal with those two things, 5 years from now, I mean,
You
this
won't be,
sounds 5 years from now, you're not going to be in existence. The people who
mm,
you've left, the little low-level employee that you didn't want to empower, that developed an entrepreneurial spirit, is going to
hmm.
step out of your organization and they're going to become your main competitor. And you're going to
Wow.
be like,
Yeah.
how did that happen? I might be talking.
I mean, leadership or the lack of,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Leadership. Yeah, I mean, if you don't empower your people in the future, you're not going to exist. People need
Yeah.
empowerment now than more than they ever did. But if you don't know what your brand is and you don't hold them accountable to your brand, then the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah. And I mean, and you make a, I mean, I know we talked about this earlier, but it's like I always say, like B2B, B2C, it's P2P, it's people to people. I don't,
People to people.
and yes, like as much as AI will enhance, I think, yes, maybe replace some, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's going to be ever there's not going to be never people in business. It's always going to be a people game, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Even with the advent of AI, it's always going to be people. It's just going to
Exactly.
be the
Yeah.
people. It's just going to be the people that have learned how to use AI.
Exactly. And keep their, keep their
And all the
position
people
within.
who are going to be used by AI are going to be on their way out. And if leadership doesn't learn to use AI and they end up being used by AI, the only thing that's going to happen to them is they're going to disappear. The old
Yeah.
boardroom, the stuffy old boardroom of the good old boy network is not going to be there in the future because decisions are going to happen too fast, and you're going to need decisive people that move quickly. Otherwise, your organization is going to fall apart.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that, I think when anytime there's like a big change in an industry, I don't want to say it like weeds out the wheat. Like it does a good job of kind of like trimming the fat. And that's the only metaphor I can really use right now. And that's what I think AI is going to do to probably, and I hate saying this because like I mean we need business. I'm all about the free market economy, obviously, and I'm an entrepreneur, but I do agree with you. We're going to see another I mean, there already has been post-COVID, I know a surge of entrepreneurship. I just think we're going to see more entrepreneurs
Yeah.
in this world, which I love. I think entrepreneurship is, I mean, as I said, not everybody's meant to be one, but it's definitely a different lifestyle. But I think
Mhm.
that I love that we're maybe moving towards that model and more autonomy. an agency for regular people, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of ethical things that come into that and societal things that come.
Yeah, of course. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's a huge thing, but I think being in a corporation, I think it's a great thing. If you're like in the corporate world and you found a niche that you can live in, that's a great safe place to be. As long as your organization is running properly. Entrepreneurial, as you know, it's not for everybody because there's risks involved, right? And that kind of stuff. So because it's not for everybody, there's still going to be room in this world for corporations.
Yes. Oh,
Not,
absolutely. Oh, yeah, no, there's room for everybody. I just think like it's like I mean we're doing now I'm going really we're going really philosophical as you just said. We're
I
kind of going
love
to that was it
philosophical.
is it I mean then you please correct me because I'm gonna say it like the survival of the fittest. Like you know what I mean? Like that's kind of what it is. Like that's what corporate America is gonna go through. Like whoever's the
Yeah.
fittest will survive, everybody else will not.
And in my humble opinion, I think what you and I are talking about today is probably the biggest key to the survival of organizations. I think
Yes.
people are going to look back at it and they'll see like a video like this and they're going to go, that's
Wow.
exactly what it was.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing that set the whole world on fire, which kind of brings us back to what you and I were talking about earlier. Like years ago, a few years back, like maybe 7, 8 years ago, one of the leading guys in AI was Elon Musk and still is to some degree. And
Hmm.
they said some interviewer asked him, I saw it one time, and I can't remember where I saw it, but I saw it. And the interviewer asked him, they said, do you think that the advent of AI will have as big an impact on humanity as the invention of the printing press? And Elon Musk said, absolutely not, not even close. He said, AI is going to have a bigger impact on humanity than the invention of fire.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is a very big impact. That is very impactful.
That
So,
that changes everything. And there's going to be a bunch of people sitting around in C-suites that are not going to see that until it's too late.
yeah. And I mean, I'll say, I mean, I was raised to, and I think we spoke about this, touched upon this. Leadership styles, which I know you're definitely an expert in, but I was raised, and I pride myself that my father was taught me very early on in life, like of like servant leadership, and that like you are of service to your team, like you're like and that what they like the whole concept, the leaders eat last, all that, but
Mhm.
I really, really hold that near and dear to my heart. When I'm in my business, I don't have any of a physical team yet. I will one day, but to really prioritize like the team's growth and personal development over like just power and ego, and that's where I think a lot of people get lost in corporate.
Yeah, yeah. I think and I think maybe you and I talked about this the other day as well, but I think that's important is that leadership is leadership there's a whole lot of different philosophies on how to do leadership. Like I've got books and books and books of leadership
Yeah,
theory,
yeah.
right? Where you got like servant leadership and you have adaptive leadership and you have LMX theory and you psychodynamic leadership and stewardship leadership and
There's like yeah, added
there's
just yeah
there's thousands
the
and
laundry
thousands
list.
of them, right? And servant leadership was one of the most popular studies. But what I believe is that you have to know what type of leadership to employ, given what situation. Now, there's situational leadership, which is a theory all in and of itself. But what I mean by this is I kind of categorize it into four groups. I think there's transactional leadership. I pay you, you do what I tell you to do, follow the rules. There's transformational leadership, which I believe servant leadership falls under, which is I'm here to help you develop and become what you need to be. There's adaptive leadership that kind of is about we're going through an AI change. How are we going to adapt to it? And we're going to kind of climb the tree and look out through the jungle and try to figure out which way to go now, and then climb down and then lead people through the forest, and then eventually climb another tree and then climb back down and change the direction based on what we see. That's adaptive leadership. And then there's authoritative leadership that you have to do. I call it command leadership. It's like when you're in crisis situations, war situations, that's the kind of leadership you need to employ. I think leaders need to they can't just read one book and then go out and say this is the way we're going to do it, because what they're actually doing is they're taking somebody else's leadership brand and trying to template it on their organization. A leadership brand is not going to template on an organization. If it worked well in one organization, that doesn't mean you can just take it and template
Exactly.
it over your organization,
Yeah.
right? So if I say servant leadership, and although servant leadership works well for your dad's business, but I guarantee you what your dad did was he took servant leadership and he thought through it and he adapted it to his specific business, and he made it fit his business. So his brand of servant leadership might be different than somebody else's brand of servant leadership. Just the very fact that you say your dad had something that was valuable and worked tells me that he didn't just template this idea on top of it. Does that make sense at all?
Absolutely. I mean, I think in leadership is also very like individual, and I think we said something previous, and forgive me, in this conversation or with the multiple little conversations we've had, but it also comes back to like what people value. I found that in life, and just in general, leadership definitely, but also too just relationships with people and teams. You have to have a shared like values and vision, and I know companies have done that with like their corporate culture, and that's important to people now. So if you're with people that are aligned, then that will just make it the whole experience better for everybody. But when you have there's a saying, and I love to use it, and I think I'm stealing it from, I forget his name. It was one of the former CEOs of Coca-Cola, like I forget, he was like a while back. But he
Mhm.
said value has value only if it's valued. So it's like if, I might value something, you might value something, but if we don't have that shared value, and it's not going to be of value to us because we don't value the same thing. So that's, I think, where the people part comes into it, because we're all, what we are is obviously we're complex and we're all these lovely things, but at the end of the day, strip us down, we're beliefs, thoughts, feelings, values, like morals. That's what we are. That's the fabric of a person.
I think I love that quote. I'm going to borrow that quote
I'm
from.
gonna send you the quote that I think I forget. I have to forget. I have it saved in my email, and forgive me. I brought it up on another podcast episode, and I always forget. He's not like a Roy Kroc or anything, like
Yeah.
uh oh, here it is. Actually, I don't find it. Hold on, I just found it in my he was Brian Dyson. Do you like Dyson the
Tyson. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was just like making a quote about how, you should have balance in life between, work life and family and friends, and then that was like the ending of his quote, because it's true. Like value has value only if it's valued.
See, just the fact that he said that tells me he's a leader. And
Exactly, exactly.
people,
I know exactly, right?
yeah,
Exactly.
most people that are in positions are not leaders, they're managers, right? And there's a difference between a manager and a leader. That doesn't mean managers are bad. Managers take leadership from somebody else and implement it, right? So they manage the leader's vision. But a leader understands that just because I have value and you have different values, it's not our value.
Exactly.
It's not our value
Yep.
until I make you a part of it, right? Until I can help you and we can share it and I let you speak into it.
Hmm.
And I find that to be extremely important. And I think that's something that leaders don't do is they don't empower their people to be a part of the decision-making processes. Um, I don't want to get into something too deep here second because I know we got to wrap this up and
No,
just
no, we can, no, it's fine. You can mention whatever you want to mention.
well, let me say this is I think this is extremely important, and then we'll just leave it at this because I do have a hard stop here in a
Oh,
little
sure.
bit.
Yeah, no problem. I don't want to,
Um,
yeah, I don't want
but
to.
let me say this. I think that I think that a true leader will bring everybody into the creation of the vision rather than to just create the vision and then bring it down the ladder to everybody and say, "Hey, I had a vision. Everybody follow me." Everybody's like, "Whoop-dee, he's got another vision or she's got another vision. Here we go again." Right? I think you have to approach it differently. I believe a good leader can come up with a vision statement, put it on a 3x5 card, stick it in their pocket, and then pull a meeting to create a vision statement. And in the end of the vision, and then in the end of the meeting, they can pull after the team created a vision statement. They can, after everybody's gone, they can pull their vision statement out of their back pocket, and it's going to be the exact same vision statement that the team put together, or the team's vision statement's actually going to be better. One of two. It's never going to be worse, right? And I think that's what a leader does. A leader pulls vision out of people. And the way I illustrate this is I ask a kind of a crazy question, right? Do you have kids?
I do not
You do
know.
not. Okay. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
This is going to sound, God forbid any of this happens, but for the purpose of illustration,
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, no. Yeah, for the
let's say that you
demonstration. Yeah.
have a child, right? And you raise that child's 12, 13 years old, and God forbid you get a diagnosis that this child has a rare heart disease,
Mm-hmm.
right? And their only chance for survival is a heart transplant,
Who
right?
would you?
Yeah.
What heart? I
So
love.
then
That's a
they
great. That's
then
a great question,
yeah.
Keith.
So then they have a blood they do blood tests and they find out that nobody on the planet would be a match for a transplant for this child. And it's really disheartening. And then the last person they check is you, and you're a perfect match. What do you do?
I mean, I would give my heart to my kid.
That's right. I'd cut it out of my own chest and hand
Yeah.
it to the surgeon before I was dead, right?
Yeah.
I would totally do that. Now let me ask you another question, but I need you to be totally honest with me.
Yes. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Totally honest with me. I have two daughters.
Okay.
Let's say one of my daughters was diagnosed with a rare heart disease, and the only her only chance for survival was somebody to donate a heart. And they did tests, and there's nobody on the face of the earth that that matched.
The match. Yeah.
But then the last person they checked was you, and you're a perfect match for my daughter. What are you going to do?
Oh, I would still probably. I would probably. I'm very empathetic. I mean, I would. Oh, yeah. I mean, it would honestly depend on.
There's a lot of hem
There's a lot of
hawing going on with
factors.
you,
Like,
right?
if
Right?
I like honestly, if I was like, if older and I didn't have any children or family, I would probably be like,
But you're
okay.
not older, you're young,
I
right?
know, but but
Yeah.
also I will say if like, I had a family and kids and I would probably be a little hesitant because it's like, well, that
That's right.
system would crumble.
It's hard to get that out of your mouth. It's hard to say, yeah, I would cut my heart out of my chest and give it to somebody else's child. Because the truth is, we won't.
Yeah,
Because
it's really
the
funny.
truth
I was
is,
actually just having a conversation. I know we have to wrap up in a little bit, but I would love your take on this too, because right now too with this economy, it's not the best. We all
yeah.
know, and a lot of people are losing their jobs. So leaders are having to make decisions of who stays and who goes. And I had a conversation with a woman. She just got lost her job, and she's a friend of mine.
Hmm.
Lost her job unfortunately, but she kind of like she knows that like her like I don't want to say like her boss basically saved his skin, and not to say he could have saved hers too, but it's that, you know, kind
He
of
gave a
that.
little of himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she feels very like hurt by it because she's like, I like she's in a different stage of life than this man. He's in his 40s, she's in her 60s. So she's like, she's like, all I wanted to do was just like, sail into retirement and now I
Mhm.
have to figure this all out. And it's like, and she's taking it, and I get it, you take it very personally because work is very personal, but she did like kind of say like she's like she could have easily gotten a job like with his credentials, where he is in the market, but we do, to your point, have this like at the end of the day, we're going to choose ourselves kind of mentality.
Yeah, and that's my point because here's the point about all this. These guys are going out and they're creating vision statements and then they're bringing it down there to their people and saying, "Here's my vision, go ahead and do this." And people are like, "Whoopee, I'm not going to die for your vision." Right? But the moral of the story is people will die for that which they create. You'll die for the child you created. I'll die for the child I created.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not dying for your child, and you're
For
not,
what? Yeah, for what? Yep, I created or
right?
what you created.
So
Yeah.
if you bring people into the decision-making process, if you bring people into the creation, if you start empowering people and holding people accountable, then all of a sudden you'll get people that are willing to die for it. And that goes back to the CEO, Mr. Dyson, I believe his name was,
Yeah.
his quote, if you value something, it's not valuable until it's valued, right? So it's only valued if I feel like I helped create it. And
Yeah.
so why are all these people at the top of organizations not including people in the creation of vision statements?
Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's because that's how teams are built. They're not, you're
Or
not.
at least make them think they're a part of it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
I
know that's
mean,
the
I can
whole.
I can stick that thing in my pocket and then have my meeting, and when I'm all done, I can pull it out and it matches. But here's the thing: if I'm having a meeting, I know where I want to take people. All I got to do is ask the right questions. And I'll leave you with this. He who asks the questions is in control of the room, or she who asks the questions is in control of the room. Because you can take people anywhere you want them to go as long as you lead them with a question.
Mm,
If you don't like how they answer, just ask a different question. Keep on asking different questions until you get them going where you want them to go. When you're all done, they either created something better than you had or they created exactly what you had. And then when you're all done, you stand back and you applaud them and say, "You guys are awesome. Look what you created."
yeah. But
And
that's also too. I don't want. I know we could talk all day. I want to be mindful of your time and your call. That I love what you just said, but that's also taking a stance of leadership of curiosity over authority.
yeah,
Be
absolutely.
curious, be curious. And I'm all in that world in my therapy side. Like
Yeah.
all I do is ask people questions and intervene all day. That's all I do.
Hmm.
But it's that you get to really know people in that way.
Yeah. I think the difference between a negative attitude and a positive attitude is curiosity.
Yeah.
Curiosity can go south or curiosity can go north.
Yep, it can.
And it's the
Pretty
hinge,
quick.
right? It's the hinge. So if you can get somebody to the level of curiosity, you can take them out of the basement of negativity, right? If you can just get them to the level of curiosity and then give them something valuable and you can take them up all the way to gratitude.
Yep.
Or you can take them down all the way to depression, right?
Mm-hmm.
But curiosity is the middle level, right?
Yes.
Up
Yeah.
and down. So if you can produce that with your people, and then you've got to be willing to sacrifice if they come up with a better idea than you, go with
But
it.
yeah, that like let
Go with it.
put your ego aside and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Because if I spent days and days and days working up a vision and then I have a meeting and then my people come up with a better vision than me, I'm not going to throw them under the bus just to make my vision. You got to love the process more than the product, you know? Those who are in marketing graphic design understand that, right? People
Mm-hmm.
they'll come out with a
Mm-hmm.
great graphic design, and then all of a sudden somebody goes, "No, that's not what I want." And you know what that's like.
Yeah.
And then you got to throw the whole thing out and start all
Yeah.
over again. But you got to ask yourself, what did I learn in the process? Because that's where the value is. The value's in the process, it's not in the product.
Yep.
The same thing with creating vision. So
Yep.
I don't know. I've talked around in a bunch of circles,
No, no, I think this
but I hope it was
conversation, Keith,
helpful.
I can tell how passionate you are about what you do, and any organization would be very lucky to work with you. And also too, I know you do executive coaching, and I know that you're kind of I know you work for, you're a consultant now for organizations, but where could people, just so they know, and I'll put it in the show notes as well, where could they find your information or what's the best way to
Yeah,
contact
sure.
you?
I mean, my LinkedIn page,
Okay.
like I say, I told you before, I actually work for a small city, or excuse me, not a small city, but a medium to large size city in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of contracting outside of that. On top of that, you
Uh-huh.
so my appointments are kind of few, but I do relish working with some people, and I'd like to
Yeah.
take on a few more clients. And if you're interested in taking and kind of talking with me and kind of going in a direction, you can reach me at at keithkanenberg.com.
Okay, great.
And
Perfect.
that's name. I think maybe you can put the spelling up there.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes for
Yeah.
everybody so they have it.
KeithKanenberg.com. It's just a little funnel website where you can make an
Yeah,
appointment to
yeah,
talk
that's
with me.
fine. Yeah.
And the you can reach out to me on my LinkedIn page. Just inbox me. I put a post up every morning, a little bit of training and teaching. So just come out and check that out as well. I'd just
Awesome.
love to get to know people, try to build a network.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Keith. This has been such an amazing episode. I appreciate your time and your insight, and your passion. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Course.
appreciate it.
Of course,
Bye,
and as
everybody.
per usual, everybody, you can find the Feeling and Healing podcast on YouTube as well as Apple Podcast and Spotify.